Hello and welcome to our 7-8 minutes of weekly Torah talk. Our guest today is Meir Azari. He's the rabbi of Beit Daniel synagogue, Reform synagogue in Tel Aviv. Hello, Rabbi. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, Shalom Shmuel. Shalom from Tel Aviv to all of our audience.
In our Parsha, we have a dramatic story. Soon after allowing the children of Israel to depart from Egypt, Pharaoh chases after them to force their return. Then the sea splits to allow the Israelites to pass through and then closes over the pursuing Egyptians. In the desert, the people suffer thirst and hunger and repeatedly complain to Moses and Aaron. Manna rains down from the heavens before dawn each morning, and quails appear in the Israelite camp each evening so they can have something to eat. And at the end of the Parsha in Refidim, the people of Israel are attacked by the Amalekites. The first pasuk of the Parsha says, ויהי בשלח פרעה את העם ולא נחם אלוהים דרך ארץ פלישתים כי קרוב הוא כי אמר אלוהים פן ינחם העם בראותם מלחמה ושבו מצרימה. It came to pass when Pharaoh let the people go that God did not let them by way of the land of the Philistines, for it was near, because God said, lest the people reconsider when they see war and return to Egypt. So what we see in this Parsha, Rabbi, is quite ironic. God says he does not want the people to go in the shortest route because he's afraid of war, and then the Parsha ends with war.
Yeah, it's ironic, but I will take it for a second to a different direction. It's not just the ironic fear from war. It's maybe the fear of God that the people are not ready yet. With all due respect, they didn't do anything in order to go out from Egypt. And God see a group of people just kicked out from slavery, hundreds of years of slavery, and for a second he feels that they are not ready. They're not baked in order to become a nation. It takes time to become a nation. The Americans can tell us how long took them to become a nation, and yet they're still debating how long it took us in Israel. So the Zionist movement started, how long it took take us to become a nation. Yet we're still debating about ourselves, who will lead us, how we are going to lead ourselves, what is the basic element of the community, the basic rules, laws. And God, I think, understood the minute after they went out from Egypt, they are not ready yet. So it's not to prevent a war or to meet them with the feeling of a war and the excitement and the fear from a war. It's fear from independent. It's fear that they are not ready enough for the journey. And few psukim later, we understand why and how the decision was so right. After they saw the people of Egypt, the army of Egypt, entering to death, days later, they come to Moses and says, Moses, it was good to be in Egypt. It's better than to die in the desert. A nation just earn, freedom. The sense of freedom is there. The feeling of freedom is there. They're complaining and asking return to Egypt.
That's the beginning of a very long Jewish tradition of complaining. You as a rabbi should know it better than anyone.
Any type of complaint, we know. But think about those people that saw what we never saw. We didn't see the 10 flags. We didn't see the army of Egypt entering to the sea and dying there. We didn't see that excitement, those symbols, those unique moments in the history of the world. We can talk about that. We can read about that. We might feel that we were there, but we weren't. They were there. And they saw the power of God. They saw the connection, the unique covenant breathed between Moses and God, between God and Moses. And they still don't accept that. They don't take it as a major power that they gain, that they have after hundreds of years of history. I think it's a weakness that we feel. And I think these unique people needs to learn to trust the history that will come, will be part of their story. Trust God, trust Moses, trust that they are going to a journey that every human being needs to be part of it, the journey for freedom, independence. And I think that we'll see that a few times in the Parshat. And this is when they don't have water, they don't have food. By the way, when you read it, you don't see that they made any efforts to get water or food. This is a nation that learned to work for others and got instructions from others, and understood that life is very short and does not demand from you the spirit of being independent person that can lead himself from poverty and miskenut, area miskenut, to the place that we deserve. So I think that the Parsha is a great story about how a nation, how people need to grow up, become independent. I just talked to the guy that had a bar mitzvah this Shabbat at Beit Daniel, and I told him, you're one of the best parashot for a story of a bar mitzvah kid.
That is true, right?
How you have to learn to be independent, how you have to trust yourself, the ability to trust yourself, the ability to dream. Look, we have a parasha that tells a great story about Exodus and those people that were there, those moments, that unique experience. They can't dream. They cannot dream. They cannot adjust the scene that they saw to a dream that talks about a nation, independence, freedom. I think that this is something that will lead the people of Israel, I think, rightly, to a long journey of 40 years in the desert.
Well, in retrospect, we know that it was a 40-year journey, but initially God did not intend it to be a 40-year journey. He was aiming at a shorter period of time, and then had to punish them.
Yeah, he understood, Shmuel, that they're not ready. Later, step by step, he will discover that it will be
a much longer journey than what he expected.
He probably said, a few months, it's fine. They won't go through a Gaza Strip of today, they will go to another. So the desert will take a few weeks, few months. Step by step, he understood that this nation is not ready yet. And 40 years, it's the time. And by the way, we can see that later, Joshua, when he took leadership, he's ready. The people are ready. The people are ready to fight. The people are ready to take over the land of Israel. The people are ready to end the journey and begin a new life in their own land. They are ready to dream upon the homeland. That starting to talk about how we divide the land between the tribes, between the families, how we will live there. It's a new generation. The generation that grew up as slaves under the rule of Pharaoh and the people of Egypt are not ready yet for what freedom and independence mean.
Well, it's really, in some way, it's really a sad story, because we see this great generation of the Exodus, and we know that this generation will never be ready. We will have to wait for the generation that was born free in order for it to take responsibility and rule itself.
Yes, you're right. I think about our generation, Shmuel, the generation that came out from the Holocaust or from Arab countries. That generation was a little bit different than the generation that came out from Egypt. That generation was already ready to take responsibility and fight, was already, I think, baked in a way that generation that came out from Egypt was not ready. I remember the stories of people that fought for independence war, leaders like Ben Gurion and from the other side, Begin, that were able to take the leadership in the moment that the dream was becoming close to reality. I think that our generation was blessed by people that took responsibility and they didn't cry. God why we don't have water, God, why we don't have food. They built the kibbutzim and the moshavim. They built the infrastructures of the state, or the state to become earlier, in order to provide us the right, step, the right entering point to a nation, a state of Israel. I know. It's remind me the song that we used to sing while we were kids in Hanukkah, and later in Yom Ha'atzmaut, when they raise, if you remember, the flags and the torches
on Mount Herzl, right?
נס לא קרה לנו, פח שמן לא מצאנו. We are a generation that never experienced a miracle. We worked hard. We climbed on the mountain. We worked until our hands were full with blood. We put the energy and the wisdom. And this is so different. The generation of the Zionist movement is so different than the generation that came out from Egypt. And I think that we were blessed to live in that kind of generation. And I think that we should be very happy with the progress of the people from the time of Exodus to the time of the 20th century that brought us the state of Israel.
Rabbi Meir Azari, thank you and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you very much, Shmuel. Bye-bye.